Exploring the Legacy of Christopher Columbus, a Comprehensive History. Christopher Columbus was born in the bustling seaport of Genoa, Italy, around 1451. Raised in a modest household, his early life was marked by an innate curiosity about the world, spurred by the tales of sailors and merchants who frequented his family's wool workshop. Columbus's maritime education began in his youth, deeply influenced by the thriving maritime culture of Genoa. He learned the art of navigation, a skill that would later be crucial in his voyages across the Atlantic. His early sea voyages took him to the Aegean Sea and possibly as far as the British Isles and Iceland. The age of exploration was in full swing during Columbus's formative years, with European explorers pushing the boundaries of the known world. Inspired by these voyages, Columbus grew determined to make his mark by finding a new route to the rich spice markets of Asia. Seeking support for his ambitious plan, Columbus first approached the Portuguese king, John II. Portugal was a leading maritime power at the time, already successful in exploring African routes. However, Columbus's proposal to reach Asia by sailing west was met with skepticism and ultimately rejected. Undeterred by Portugal's refusal, Columbus turned to Spain. He persistently sought an audience with King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, pitching his vision of expanding Christendom and gaining riches. After years of negotiation, his persistence paid off when the Spanish monarchs agreed to sponsor his expedition in 1492. Christopher Columbus's relentless pursuit for support finally culminated in the historic 1492 agreement with Spain's monarchs, Ferdinand and Isabella. His proposal to find a westward route to the Indies intrigued the rulers, who, after initial hesitations, agreed to finance his expedition in exchange for promises of wealth and new territories. With the backing of the Spanish crown, Columbus began rigorous preparations for his first voyage. He assembled a modest fleet consisting of 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Niña. Skilled craftsmen and experienced sailors were recruited to ensure the vessels were seaworthy and well-equipped for the unprecedented journey ahead. In August 1492, Columbus's fleet set sail from Palos de la Frontera, a small town in southern Spain. This marked the beginning of what would be a transformative voyage into the unknown. The departure was filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension as the crew ventured into uncharted waters. Navigating the Atlantic posed significant challenges. Columbus and his crew had to rely on primitive navigational tools like the compass and quadrant. They also used dead reckoning to estimate their westward progress. Despite the vast and unpredictable ocean, Columbus's adept maritime skills guided them towards their destination. Finally, on October 12, 1492, after 2 months at sea, Columbus and his crew made landfall in the Bahamas. This momentous event marked the first encounter between Europeans and the New World, setting the stage for a profound and lasting impact on global history. Columbus named the island San Salvador, claiming it for Spain, and commencing his interactions with the indigenous Taino people. Christopher Columbus's initial interactions with the Taino people marked a pivotal moment in his expedition. Upon landing in the Bahamas, Columbus encountered the indigenous Taino, who were generally peaceful and hospitable. These early encounters set the tone for subsequent interactions, but also foreshadowed the tragic impact of European colonization on native populations. As Columbus continued his exploration, he reached the coasts of Cuba and Hispaniola. His expeditions around these islands were driven by the search for precious metals and the desire to claim new territories for Spain. His detailed observations of these lands documented in his journals provided valuable information back to the Spanish crown. The establishment of La Navidad on Hispaniola represented the first European settlement in the New World. Constructed from the timbers of the Santa Maria, which had run aground, this fort was a symbol of Spain's intentions in the Americas. It also marked the beginning of European influence in the New World. Upon his return to Spain, Columbus was received with high honors by the Spanish monarchs. His tales of discovery were met with excitement and curiosity, bolstering his status as an admiral and paving the way for future voyages. This reception reflected the monarch's ambitions for expansion and wealth accumulation through overseas exploration. The impact of Columbus's discoveries on Europe was profound, reshaping trade, economics, and even the European worldview. His reports of the New World fueled imaginations and ambitions across the continent, setting the stage for the age of exploration that would follow, profoundly altering the course of global history. Following his initial journey, Christopher Columbus quickly organized a second voyage, assembling a much larger fleet of 17 ships and over 1,200 men. This expedition, aimed at establishing deeper roots in the newly discovered lands, set sail in 1493, demonstrating Spain's commitment to exploiting the new territories. During the second voyage, Columbus and his crew ventured further into the Caribbean, exploring various islands and establishing the settlement of La Isabela on Hispaniola. This marked the beginning of European colonization in the Americas, setting a precedent for future expeditions and the establishment of new colonies. However, the settlement of La Isabela faced numerous challenges, including harsh weather, disease, and conflict with the indigenous populations. The difficulties highlighted the complexities of establishing and maintaining colonies in unfamiliar and often hostile environments, testing Columbus's leadership and governance skills. Columbus's role as governor was marred by controversies, including accusations of mismanagement and cruelty towards both the indigenous people and Spanish colonists. His governance style led to increasing tensions, culminating in complaints to the Spanish monarchy about his methods and leadership. The mounting complaints eventually led to Columbus's arrest and return to Spain in chains in 1500. This dramatic fall from grace was a significant turning point, casting a shadow over his achievements and initiating a complex legal battle to restore his reputation and privileges. Christopher Columbus's third voyage brought him to the South American continent, where he first sighted the Orinoco River. This significant moment led Columbus to realize he had discovered a new landmass, potentially a separate continent from Asia, which challenged the prevailing geographical theories of his time. Upon this discovery, accusations of mismanagement began to surface against Columbus. His governance style, marked by harsh measures and the exploitation of indigenous populations, led to discontent among both the colonists and the native people. This unrest eventually reached the Spanish crown, prompting an official investigation. Columbus returned to Spain again in chains after his arrest by the royal authorities. Despite these humiliating circumstances, he was determined to defend his actions and restore his reputation. His passionate appeal to the Spanish monarchy emphasized his contributions to the expansion of his empire. During his fourth voyage, Columbus embarked on a quest to find a maritime passage to the Indian Ocean, believing it would establish a faster route for trade with the Asian continents. This expedition, fraught with challenges, reflected his undying ambition and commitment to exploration. The voyage culminated in a shipwreck, leaving Columbus and his crew stranded in Jamaica. They survived for over a year under dire conditions before being rescued. This ordeal marked the beginning of the end of Columbus's maritime career, signaling a shift to his final years, dominated by legal battles and declining health. Stranded with his crew, they survived for over a year thanks to the hospitality of local inhabitants and the ingenuity of Columbus, who used a lunar eclipse prediction to maintain their cooperation and support. After a grueling year waiting for rescue, a relief expedition finally arrived, and Columbus and his men returned to Spain. This marked the end of his exploratory endeavors. Broken by the hardships and feeling betrayed by the crown, Columbus's last years were shadowed by disappointment and ill health. Columbus spent his remaining days embroiled in legal battles to restore his privileges and honors, which he felt were unjustly taken from him. Despite his declining health, he fought tirelessly, driven by a deep sense of injustice and a desperate need to reclaim his reputation. Christopher Columbus died in 1506, relatively unrecognized and in modest circumstances compared to his earlier achievements. His passing was quiet, and he was buried without much ceremony. His legacy, however, would grow to be monumental, shaping the course of world history and sparking debate for centuries. Following Columbus's death, his son Diego succeeded him as the governor of the Indies, continuing his father's legacy in the New World. The appointment was a testament to the enduring influence of the Columbus family, despite the controversies and criticisms that clouded Christopher's later years. Revisionist views of Christopher Columbus are deeply polarized. Some portray him as a pioneering hero who expanded the geographical knowledge of the Western world, while others condemn him as a villain responsible for the exploitation and suffering of indigenous peoples. This debate underscores the complexity of his legacy, reflecting a broader historical narrative. Columbus's navigation techniques were revolutionary for his time. He utilized the stars, dead reckoning, and rudimentary charts, significantly contributing to the field of maritime navigation. These methods not only propelled the age of exploration, but also laid the groundwork for future maritime discoveries and advancements in navigation technology. The economic impact of Columbus's voyages was profound, reshaping the economic landscape of Europe. The influx of gold, silver, and new agricultural products from the Americas into Europe dramatically boosted the European economies, especially Spain's, ushering in a period of unprecedented wealth and global trade expansion. Religion played a pivotal role in Columbus's expeditions. He was motivated partly by a desire to spread Christianity to new lands, viewing his voyages as part of a divine mission. This religious zeal not only influenced his journeys, but also the European approach to colonization, often justifying the subjugation of native populations in the process. The introduction of European diseases to the New World had devastating effects on indigenous populations, who had no immunity to such illnesses. This unintentional aspect of the Columbian exchange led to significant population declines and profound social disruption among the native peoples of the Americas. The Columbian exchange, initiated by Christopher Columbus's voyages, drastically altered the global landscape. This vast transfer of goods, such as potatoes, tomatoes, and tobacco from the New World, and horses, wheat, and diseases from the Old World, reshaped diets, economies, and populations across continents, leading to profound ecological and social changes. Columbus's contributions to cartography and maritime exploration were pivotal. His voyages led to significant improvements in map-making and navigational techniques, helping sailors better understand the geography of the Atlantic and paving the way for further explorations. His findings encouraged more accurate representations of lands and waters on European maps. Art and literature have variously commemorated Columbus, reflecting changing perceptions over time. Initially celebrated as a hero, his likeness and voyages have been captured in countless paintings and books, emphasizing the Age of Discovery spirit. However, modern interpretations often critique his role in initiating European colonization and its consequences. Modern celebrations of Columbus Day are met with mixed reactions. In some regions, it remains a day to honor the achievements of Columbus and the cultural exchanges that followed. Conversely, many advocate for Indigenous Peoples Day, seeking to recognize the native populations affected by European colonization and to reframe the historical narrative. Ongoing historical research continues to unveil new insights about Columbus's life and expeditions. Scholars utilize a range of sources, from ship logs to native accounts, to piece together a more nuanced understanding of his impact. This research is crucial for interpreting Columbus's legacy in the context of global history and indigenous perspectives.